Здравствуйте, я преподаю английский детям онлайн. Посмотрите, как я это делаю. Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who was loved by everyone who knew her. Her grandmother made her a red cloak with a red hood, and the little girl wore it so often that people started calling her Red Riding Hood. One morning, her mother said to her, "Little Red Riding Hood, your grandmother isn't very well. Could you please take a basket of good things to her, which are some bread, a cake, and a piece of fresh butter?" "Yes, mother." "And please don't run, because you may fall with your basket. And do not walk too slowly, because you may be too late. And do not speak to any strangers you may meet." "I will do just as you tell me, mother," said Little Red Riding Hood, and she set out on her way to her grandmother's place. Her grandmother did not live very far away. She lived in the forest, and when Little Red Riding Hood walked through the forest, she met a wolf. She did not know what a wicked and bad animal the wolf was, and she quite forgot her mother's advice not to speak to any strangers, so she was not afraid of the wolf. "Where are you going, Little Red Riding Hood?" "I am going to visit my grandmother, who isn't very well." "What have you in your basket?" "I have some bread, a cake, and a piece of fresh butter." "Where does your grandmother live?" "My grandmother lives in the forest under 3 oak trees, and there are not bushes beside it." "This little girl will make a tasty dinner for me," thought the wolf. "But if I'm careful, I can eat the old lady as well." So he walked for a while with Little Red Riding Hood, and then he said, "Little Red Riding Hood, your grandmother cannot go out. Perhaps you could bring her some fresh flowers." "That's an amazing idea," said Little Red Riding Hood, and she went to pick up the flowers for her grandmother. And when she saw one flower, she saw another prettier flower further on, and she went deeper and deeper in the wood, and she listened to the birds sing at the same time. However, the wolf went straight to her grandmother's cottage. When he came there, he knocked at the door. Tock, tock, tock. "Who is there?" asked grandmother in a weak voice. "It's me, Little Red Riding Hood," said the wolf. "Lift the latch and walk in." So the wolf lifted the latch and walked in the house. There was grandmother in bed, and the wolf went straight up to her and swallowed her up. Then he put on a night dress and a night cap and lay in bed to wait for Little Red Riding Hood to come. When Little Red Riding Hood gathered as many flowers as she could carry, she hurried to her grandmother's place. But it was so strange there. The door was open, and she entered the room, and there was her grandmother in bed, but she put on her nightcap, so Little Red Riding Hood could not see her face. Grandma looked strange. "Oh, Grandma, what big ears you have!" "The better to hear you with, my dear." "Oh, Grandma, what big eyes you have!" "The better to see you with, my dear," said the wolf. "Oh, Grandma, what big hands you have!" "The better to hug you with, my dear." "Oh, Grandma, what big teeth you have!" "The better to eat you with, my dear." With these words, the wolf jumped out of bed and ate up Little Red Riding Hood. After having such a good meal, he went back to bed to have a good rest and started snoring loudly. Later on, a hunter went past the house, and he heard the wolf's loud snores. "How loudly grandmother is snoring," thought the hunter. "Maybe she's unwell. I'd better go and check on her." When he entered the room, he saw the wolf in grandmother's bed. He wanted to shoot him down, but then he thought, maybe grandmother could still be saved. So he took the knife and cut open the wolf. Out of the wolf jumped Little Red Riding Hood, and she said, "Oh, it was so dark inside the wolf, I was so frightened." And then her grandmother came out, alive and weak after her horrible adventure. They were quite happy now. The hunter took the wolf's skin home. Grandmother ate the good things which Red Riding Hood brought to her, and Red Riding Hood from that time on always followed her mother's advice. После того, как я презентовала детям сказку, мы начинаем работать с текстом. Вот так.
Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a little girl who was loved by all who knew her. Her grandmother made her a little red cloak with a red hood. The cloak was so nice and warm that she often wore it. She wore it so often that people called her Red Riding Hood. One day, her mother said to her, "Red Riding Hood, I want you to take a basket of good things to your grandmother, who isn't very well. Some bread, a cake, and a piece of fresh butter." Her mother put the things in a basket. "Don't run," she said, "or you may fall down with your basket. But don't go too slowly, or you will be too late. Just go quickly and carefully."
А дома мои ученики продолжают читать данный текст с диктором, благодаря чему многие первоклашки могут читать по-английски уже через 3 месяца. Хотите также? Приглашаю и вас к себе на занятия.